We've got a very important and interesting report to take a look at here today involving New York Rangers young star player Alexis Lafreniere, who is looking to have a monster year as he is in the final year of his current contract. That was a 2-year deal. He ended up having that monster year last season where he ended up putting up some unreal numbers, having career highs in all categories: goals, assists, and points. And this season will look to have an even better year. And obviously, he's looking to sign a pretty monster contract, I'd imagine, as well. So let's just get right into the report here from Frank Saravalli, one of the more reputable and, better, I would say, NHL reporters. And he basically ends up saying here in his post on X, with so much focus on Igor Shesterkin, New York Rangers have also been working on a deal with Alexis Lafreniere going back to summer. Talks ongoing, different options on table. One of them, 8 years at $8 million, to that kind of a range. So I think overall, that's not a bad deal at all. In a minute here, we'll take a look at some of the contract comparables here and some other kind of guys around Lafreniere's age, some other forwards who, are making around that kind of 8 years, $8 million mark as well. So we'll take a look at those kind of guys and kind of compare Lafreniere to them and see whether or not he truly deserves that kind of a deal. But I think overall, he does. I think this is a fair contract. And Lafreniere may be a guy who, the first couple years in the NHL, their first couple of seasons, things didn't quite fully get going, obviously. And a lot of Rangers fans were very worried about that. And a lot of them, some of you, out there definitely wanted him traded last offseason. But I myself did not want to see him traded away. I figured he could end up being a pretty valuable player for this team at some point. I figured he'd end up breaking out because this is a player with so much talent. I watched him a bit back in his junior days, back when he was playing in the QMJHL with the Rimouski Oceanic, as well as when he played for Team Canada at the World Juniors. And at both those levels, he was such a dominant player. Some of you may remember as well, back a while ago, a few years ago, decent ways away back now, I guess you could say, back when Lafreniere played for Team Canada at that World Junior run when he was the leader of that team there, the MVP, he completely took over that tournament of his peers, right? He wasn't even, one of the oldest guys in the tournament either. He was one of the kind of, middle kind of range kind of guys you could say for age probably, and he ended up pretty much dominating that tournament. So this is a guy with an immense amount of skill, and we finally really got to see that kind of breakthrough this past season where he ended up having a career high in goals, assists, and points there, playing alongside some great players in Trocheck and Panarin. And the main thing about Lafreniere that really gets me excited about his future with this organization and team is the fact that when you watch him play, and you take a look at the first game of this season so far for a pretty good example of that, this is a player who was not, sitting in the backseat, being a passenger on that line alongside Trocheck and Panarin. This is a player who, at moments, can take over a game and really kind of not put the team on his back, but really kind of create a goal by himself, like all by himself from what he did exactly, and not really just because of Panarin, made that beautiful pass over where he tapped it in back door. Lafreniere is a guy who he makes some really beautiful, dekes with his hands. I mean, he's got great hands, great dekes, great moves. And you see that in a lot of these games here. In that first game against Pittsburgh, you definitely saw it there with his goal as well. That nice little toe drag around Marcus Pettersson there. Beautiful toe drag. Beats him 5-hole there. So I think Lafreniere is a guy who, if you watch him play, yes, he's obviously benefiting from playing alongside some great players in Panarin and Trocheck, but let's be honest here, what top 6 caliber players are playing alongside, some fourth line, kind of caliber players for the most part? You're really not seeing that happen there. So Lafreniere playing alongside guys like Panarin and Trocheck, yes, it's going to help his game for sure, but if you watch him play, he's not just a passenger on that line. At moments, he is the driver of that line with what he can do, especially at 5-on-5. And that's kind of the question here is, how much do we really see Lafreniere kind of get on the power play there at moments throughout this entire season? Because we have a long way to go here. The power play is going to change up a bit because of, poor play and injuries or whatever happens there. So, can Lafreniere get a long look on the power play? We'll have to wait and see. That's a big question mark. But either way, Lafreniere is a guy long-term who should be a monster player for this team. And locking him up long-term on an 8-year deal around that $8 million range is not going to be a bad contract at all. And will eventually, in 2-3 years' time, probably look like an absolute steal with the way he's developing at this pace. So that's why I kind of really would like to see him kind of locked up long-term ASAP. Don't let it wait until this upcoming summer when, there's a little less leverage. Maybe after he puts up maybe 90 points this year, possibly, let's say, or, 85 points, up around a point per game, his value could go up a little even more. So getting him locked up right now would be ideal, I think, for the Rangers and possibly for Lafreniere as well, to kind of get that contract locked in, that contract certainty, and know exactly where he's going to be for probably the next 8+ years of his career. And now we're going to take a look at 5 comparable contracts that were signed somewhat recently that can be, kind of comparable to what Lafreniere's next deal could possibly be, somewhere around that 8-year, $8 million range per season. So starting off here, we have the 3rd overall pick from Lafreniere's draft class, where he ended up going 1st overall, and that is Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings. He ended up signing somewhat recently an 8-year deal worth $8.075 million per season, so just over $8 million. Not bad. I think that's a fair contract for about what he brings, and Lafreniere and him are definitely comparable players. And, long-term wise, I definitely could see Lafreniere, really surpassing him. Possibly, maybe that's my kind of bias there, obviously, but I really do think Lafreniere's talent is just through the roof. I think he has a whole nother level or two to still go. I don't think he's a near complete player, and I do think long-term wise, he truly can be a superstar level guy in this league. Then you take a look here at the next guy here. We have Robert Thomas of the Blues. He ended up signing an 8-year deal worth $8.125 million. He's a little older, but still somewhat a comparable player. Jordan Kyrou, his teammate, signed an exact same deal there, 8 years at $8.125 million. Again, comparable players, kind of in that same tier as of right now, you could possibly say. Then you have Timmy Stützle, another player from Lafreniere's draft class. He signed an 8-year deal worth $8.35 million from the Ottawa Senators. And then you have here Pavel Buchnevich, not the best comparable guy. I just want to throw him in there because he is the former Ranger. He signed a 6-year deal worth $8 million this past summer with the St. Louis Blues. Not a bad deal for him, but also obviously long-term wise, Lafreniere would say he's going to be better long-term. But for right now, I think they're definitely somewhat comparable players, and I think that is a pretty fair deal for Buchnevich. And also, Lafreniere getting about the same money as these kind of players, Lucas Raymond, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Tim Stützle, and Pavel Buchnevich. Where he's at right now, I think, is a fair contract. I think he's right around this kind of level of player for sure. And I think this season, we definitely could see him take that next step and jump into that next tier players as well. I think he is, like I said, a guy with so much talent. He's got so much room to grow and definitely can get a whole lot better for this New York Rangers team as soon as this possible season, where he could end up putting up, 80+ points potentially in a full season. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video and you are a New York Rangers fan, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for a ton more New York Rangers content. And if you are a Rangers fan as well, definitely comment down below your thoughts on Alexis Lafreniere's next possible contract. It helps out the channel a ton, and I really do love hearing about what you all have to say about this team as well. So definitely comment down below your thoughts. Hit that like and subscribe button. Helps the channel a ton. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you next one. See ya.